right,
Never
so it's
mind.
January 9th. We'll start the Stoneybrook Advisory Gateway Committee meeting, and it's 3 o'clock right now. In attendance, we do have a quorum, myself, Joe McCulca, J.T. Thomas, Janice Lancaster, Virginia Stacy, Thomas Roller, Dick Zukowski should no longer be on the list because he is resigned, and Angela Davis, Angela Sullivan, jeez, that's a throwback. Are in attendance, and so we'll get going. So, and everything's been properly noticed, as they say. I'm going to ask Chris if you're out there. Chris?
He's opening those right now. Do you need him for something?
Well, he said the first couple minutes he'd come in and...
He's just doing it out there.
Okay.
If you're talking about the bids,
Yeah.
yeah, you're good.
Well, all right. Revised estimate for Ficus Street.
I just sent Shannon, now this, I know that this is a rundown, and it actually includes the stump grinding on that one that was already taken down from Irma. That's what it's revised about. And it looks like the price went down.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she went back and told them we weren't happy with it. But even that still is a lot of money.
And I'm still waiting for Shannon to see if she got hers.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what I'd like everyone to do, if you have it in front of you, just take note of this. JT and I had reviewed this as board members, because we're not supposed to speak as committee members, but, and the fact is that the original estimate was for over $4,000, and I thought that was ridiculous. And one particular tree is, almost a kickover. It's that small, and to be paying for that and grinding is not cool. So we're not going to make a decision today, but I am going to recommend that we take a walk over when you get back and maybe talk to a couple of these people just to see what the deal with those trees are, if they know anything about it. Yeah. Okay.
So how do you get the addresses on those?
They're right behind, I mean, just gotta find the
Oh,
trees.
you know
We
where
know,
they are.
yeah, we know.
Okay.
To see if the resident has an issue with the tree, or what?
Number one, if they have any knowledge of who planted them, if they would like them to stay and be there and take responsibility, which would be wonderful, because then I would have our office draft a letter for them to sign and put in the file. Otherwise, then we're gonna be in a position to probably have to pay somebody to take them down. And we'll probably talk to Mainscape, because this is from Anchor Tree Service, and they're usually good, but it's just a lot of money. Now, one of those trees is huge, and I could see that being a $1,500, $2,000 job to lug, cut, and get it out of there. The others I'm not so sure about, and especially the two little ones.
Did you go back and look at it?
No, he does, and he had pictures of them. Hey, Kathy.
I drove my Jeep back there.
Yeah.
The one that's probably costing the most is probably the size of a two-story house. Oh, it's big.
And because it's open area, it's gotten
But the
expensive.
other ones, we could, Joe and I could go back there and take care of them.
Yeah, easily.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because we were originally told specifically by L that in our documents, those trees cannot be there, so they have to be removed. That's what we were told at that meeting. So it's not like, do we want to do this, do we want to do that? Yeah, we can get price quotes, but I heard from her, they have to go.
I don't know that for a fact.
That's what
okay?
she said.
I know that's what she said, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay.
I was curious.
They're on,
I'll recognize
common ground.
Kathy Doherty just walked in,
They're
and
not on the people's houses, they're not on their property.
Oh, I know.
So they're on common ground.
But common ground, they're not allowed to be there in our development. That's what L said.
well, there's no documentation they were ever planted by us, but whether or not we are obligated to take them down, I'm not so sure. Now, what's your opinion on that, Kathy? Do you have one?
Well, they were the owners themselves put them up.
I agree, but we
Okay.
don't know if the people
Which
that live
own-
there now are the owners that did
Right.
it, though.
Okay, and the owners said there are some owners who are complaining because they're so big and they're causing problems and everything. So,
I used to-
in a way, because they're not in the DO, they shouldn't be there. So, yeah, in that sense, okay, if we are responsible, I think we are responsible to take them down if they're causing problems.
But, okay, I don't know if they are all causing problems, it could just be somebody doesn't like it, but I know one big one could be a potential threat. We do know that, the root systems from ficus trees can really extend out and
Right.
do damage.
And they're causing problems for Mainscape to mow in between.
All right,
So we were out there and we, you know, told Mainscape at least cut them so you can get underneath, because people were complaining the areas weren't being mowed, but they couldn't be mowed because.
because the things are hanging so low. I
Right.
understand.
Was there an ARC request to put them in?
Probably not.
Well, it's not,
This-
probably don't.
One of them is so big, it probably goes back before even turnover. That's my guess. And the two other ones, hard to say when they were put in.
It'd be good to have that information, because if they put them up, then they would be responsible to take them down.
My guess we'll have nothing in the file, but we can take a look. We'll get those addresses and
That'd
take
be,
a look at that.
cover the base, or you end up.
I agree with your statement, and that's a good point.
And if it was, chances are those owners probably aren't even there yet.
Yeah. Which makes it
Still carries over.
different. I know theoretically and legally it probably does, but then again, if you were buying that house, would you know anything about that or anticipate
I'm not,
that there was
I'm not
potential liability?
real sure what trees you're talking about, I'm gonna
Yeah.
check them on the way out.
These are between Stone Valley and Ivory Stone, in that common area back there. And people put, looks like, you know, some people think that land right behind them is theirs too, and they treat it like that. And it's
Oh,
not.
okay, I think I know, yeah, okay, okay.
What was the liability issue? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If the trees fall over, if the roots it can be extensive, and if they get into people's pools, water systems, irrigation, who's responsible for it? And if the trees are in fact on common area, we can be held responsible for that. So,
So if they are in a common area and we're not allowed to have them, how do we move on to get rid of them?
we will,
We pay.
yeah.
We have to make a decision on a budget, or the board makes a decision on a budget to do that, to get it done.
The board or this committee, let me explain how things work here. This committee basically recommends to the Board of Supervisors, and what we would probably do after exercising due diligence and seeing and trying to get the best deal, and see just how much we really need to pay to have taken down, then the next step would probably be to sign a contract with somebody to come in and do it. But it doesn't have to be done like this week, but we are
Okay.
gonna do it. Al?
But the plan is to do it. That's what I'm just trying
Yes.
to.
This, L. Harris Gateway, what is your title these days?
Natural Resources
Natural Resources
Specialist.
Specialist, okay, well, we've got a special question for you. Is it
That's what they
true,
put on my card.
is it true that we are legally obligated to take these trees down back?
What is this, the ficus trees?
Yes, it is the ficus trees.
I would say at this point, probably not, unless somebody from the county comes out and tells us so.
Okay, but because of the, species of tree, they can come out and say that tree is
Yes,
invasive.
they
and you gotta
can
take it
do
down.
that.
Okay.
If they were aware they were back there, they probably
Okay,
would. but-
well, we're gonna explore one or two more things, so we're probably not gonna vote on this today.
Fine, that's
Probably
fine.
next month, figure we got time, it's not an emergency.
Correct.
We want to, look at a couple of things, we're gonna look in the files. And Warren brought it up today about the possibility of there being an ARC approval in one of the records. I don't think that happened, but if it is there,
It's possible,
you know, then we have a different story possibly.
correct.
So let's take a look at it and see. The trees will come down one way or another, though, we will take. a look.
Well, like you said, it is not an emergency that has to be done right now.
Mhm.
Take your time to make that decision.
Not a problem. Ultimately, we may take a look at just a quick cut down a couple of those and cut them up and drag them out to the curb. I was wondering, I know one tree is very big out here, and then there's a couple others that are medium sized. Is it possible to get an actual bid that says that tree is specifically gonna cost this much and those two trees are gonna
An
cost?
itemized bid?
Yeah,
It is possible.
that would be great. I think.
That would be the biggest, that'd be a
Yeah.
huge help.
And these specific trees have to be taken out, like by the root or grounded down. It's not like you just chop it off. It's
Correct,
gotta come
yes,
out.
it'll grow back.
Yeah,
Right.
and then even after
So
grinding the
gotta have
roots, you
somebody-
probably gotta spray a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd treat the
Have to
stump.
have
Yeah.
a professional tree removal company doing this.
Yes,
Not a
absolutely.
handyman guy, right?
Okay, that's
Don't
correct.
do it right.
Stone,
Do it. Do it right.
Okay.
You know, I gotta solve it. I'm gonna do it.
Real quick, next up, subject, I see this is to do some more work, labor removing existing declining cocoa plum hedge, and one, I can't even pronounce that one, in the back.
Awabuki.
Oh, there you go. Well, I still can't pronounce it.
It's a viburnum.
Okay. And, so I guess you and Kathy are both recommending that this is something we need
Yes,
to do?
yes.
Okay.
The, cocoa plum is declining, and, it has a couple of large gaps in it already where they were going down, and we just, rather than have dead sticks, we, you know, take it out. Don't leave something dead and brown standing there.
I am a little surprised at the cost of removing some of this stuff, because dead plants, isn't like nothing left?
Well, they're not all dead, we removed the dead ones.
Okay.
That's what I say, there's a
So
couple of
these
large
are-
gaps in it already, because we did take out the 2 or 3 that were just, they were going down, and it's like, please just take those out
Gotcha.
and dispose of them. And then we saw it coming, but we were wanting to try to give them a chance to survive, to come back, and it wasn't happening. So we just took them out, and
So this will be part of the 2019
Yes.
fiscal budget?
absolutely.
How are we doing with the budget for leftover from 2018? Is that all?
We used that up.
That is
We
used
did
up,
use it
and
up
we
with
did
the large,
everything?
with the 2 big renovations that we did there.
Okay, and everything was handled, and that's
Yes,
done?
sir.
Okay.
There are a few small ones, there's a few that will be replaced under warranty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you do that many, put in that many plants, there's always gonna be a
Maybe some
few
that don't.
that
I noticed
just
there
aren't
are
as
some
healthy.
that are kind of brown looking.
Yeah, and yes, and we've been counting those, the little Exoras, there's a few of them that are gonna be replaced under
All right,
warranty.
good, good. I know the Exoras are seeing, I have them too, and I have a problem sometimes where I put down weed control. They seem to be more sensitive to that than
They
some
are,
other
they are
plants.
very sensitive to it.
And it's a problem.
That's why we're having such a hard time with the torpedo grass and the medians out there with the peanuts.
Gotcha.
Because the Exoras are very sensitive to the herbicides that you would use. The peanut isn't necessarily, we've tried several different products that we know, are safe to use with the peanuts there. They would take out the
But Exoras
grasses,
still have a problem.
but the Exoras still have a problem.
I fully appreciate that, and I agree, I have run into that myself. On these 2 proposals, anybody have any questions for the work to be done here? Do you have any comments on that at all?
I think that you would be happy to see it. I mean, if
Okay.
you haven't noticed this, where these are going in,
I have an idea, but I'm not gonna say, yeah, absolutely right there, but I kind of.
right, but you'll definitely see a difference once it's.
Obviously, we're depending on the 2 of you for, you know.
Knowledge.
We watch your budget very carefully and try to do the best thing in your landscape to use it.
We appreciate that. Looking for a motion here.
For the 2 on Mainscape?
The 2 Mainscape proposals here to, one
Just
for
some enhancements.
$1,515, and the other one for $547 to do the listed work as listed. Somebody move?
I move
I-
the 2 proposals.
I second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good to go. So that's a done deal. I do want to say, I noticed that you did put some palm trees down at the end of Greenstone. I don't get down there a whole lot. I don't even know
Right,
when it
in
happened.
the cul-de-sac down there.
Exactly. What, the other thing didn't make it, huh?
That orchid tree came down, blew over, and was done, it broke and went over in the hurricane.
Okay, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that went down. Shows
Yeah.
how often I get down there.
That's the one thing about those orchid trees,
Okay,
that
I thought
just
palm
are
trees
good,
look
they're
good.
very, very brittle.
Yeah, as I was driving down the street, and all of a sudden I saw that little cluster of trees there, it actually looked good. You know.
Yeah, it does look pretty good.
Yeah.
We used foxtail palms in there.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
They don't get too terribly huge. It's the same thing we have right here in front of the office in our 2 little beds here with the cocoa plum.
Mm-hmm.
Self-cleaning, they, that, like I said, they don't have a lot of pest problems.
Correct. Now, there was one that had, and it might have been just normal dropping a branch, but I noticed one of them had a branch or a frond that was getting brown, and it could be just normal.
Dropping.
Dropping.
Yeah,
But
they do, yes.
If you do drive by next time, just take note of that.
Yeah.
Make sure it
And,
is
and
normal.
if it's coming down, they'll pull it down or, just
I just
go ahead
want,
and take it off the tree
I
when
was
they're
just
there.
concerned about it being an indication of potential problem. that's all.
No, it's not an indication of a potential problem, and generally, when you do plant a plant in you give it a new home, it takes a few weeks for it to acclimate,
Mhm.
and for it to lose a few leaves on the bottom like that in the beginning is absolutely normal until it's acclimated to its new position, and is growing roots and, you know, saying, yay, I have room to spread now.
Gotcha. So as far as the ficus tree removal goes, hopefully we'll have an agenda for next meeting, and we'll have more information to decide exactly what to go with that. And landscape enhancements is approved.
Okay?
Anything else for us?
No, sir, that's it for right now. From me, is there anything I can
Anybody
help
out
you
here,
with?
Warren?
2 questions for
Sure, go ahead.
Phil. They
Okay,
put the palm trees at the end, on Pebblebrook by Stone Valley Loop, they put 4 palm trees.
The stable.
yes, yes.
And they put 4 palm trees, but dug 8 holes. And they replanted 2 trees 3 times. And I wonder, A, who paid to have the extra holes dug? Who made the mistake of not putting them?
Nobody paid to have them moved.
Oh, that was their
Okay.
error.
Okay,
That was their error. Now,
Okay.
actually, there was just 2 extra holes there, not 8.
No, they
because
dug 8. They dug 8, but there was 4 empty ones.
Really?
We only had 4 trees. We wanted 2 by the bench,
2 of them have been moved though.
and then
Yeah.
2 further down, so
Well, there
they
two-
did fill them in, and they put sod on that, and when they
Okay.
moved the other 2 down, but we did not pay them extra money
Okay,
to move
okay,
them.
and 2 of the holes, the sod looks really crappy.
I-
And the one hole is missing half the sod,
We
and the
will look
4th
at that.
hole looks really good. It looks really good.
Okay.
Hey, 250 will keep you in the majors these days.
Yeah, well, when you walk by it every day, 2 or 3 times,
I know.
you see it. We have 2 oak trees on Pebblebrook, right by our last villa, on the lakeside. The one, I'm pretty sure is, on Gateway property, because it's in the ficus. The one branch goes right out over the top of that house, and it's a big branch, and if that branch comes down, it's gonna go right through the house. And then there's another tree next to it that is getting pretty close, and that one may be ours, it may not be, that being as far as the HOA.
Okay.
So we would like to get those cut, and of course, we're trying to save money, so if one tree is yours and you can trim that, because you'll see, I mean, it's a big branch too,
Okay.
it's a big branch. If we get that cut, and then we'll take a look, we're getting ready to do some other tree trimming on some of the oaks. So that would be part of one of the things that we would take a look at right there.
Okay, we will, you got it too?
More, I
We will
got it.
definitely
Okay,
take
yeah.
a look at that tomorrow.
Are we good? I think we're all good, Al. Thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you.
Take care now. All right, Chris, you're up.
Sure, I just have a couple of things. One, this is a license agreement for temporary
You need him to sign that?
and materials, well, we gotta go to a notary.
Yeah, nobody in the office here? You're
I
kidding.
think he's getting one, Diane's the only notary we've had. I basically just use, they have 3 of them at Sanibel Captiva Bank. If
We don't have
wanna
anybody
buy.
in their office anymore, either, do we?
Yeah, we do.
No,
I thought Shannon.
I don't think anybody in office. I know somebody in the neighborhood, but I don't can
think
text
Shannon
them.
is.
Yeah, so if you wanna go to the bank, they have 3 of them right there, if you wanna do it after the meeting. You know, right time, each over there, they have cookies. and
He's got a mani-pedi scheduled though. We're
Hey,
having
we're on
really,
you-
we're picking up here.
We're on YouTube. When do you need this back by?
Well, and the second part of that is they'll probably be starting on that lake the 2nd week of February.
Okay, 'cause you told me February, that's even, I thought it might be late February, that's even better. Works for me.
Well, that lake isn't real big and I doubt
I know
it'll
it's
take them a
small.
month to do
I
it.
think it'd be bang up. I have one question about it.
They're not doing along this area, this age? No.
No, they only do residential.
They only do residential.
Yeah. And in some cases, if there's washouts or something, we'll go in and fortify it. You know, if we have some issues, we've done that in a few other places.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the district has the 20-foot lake maintenance easement, and then that area like where the sidewalk is and all that, that's a master association, Stoneybrook. I can pull the property. for
Okay,
your car
yeah,
if
I
you want
understand.
to, but-
There is gap there, and I'm aware of that there is space that we're responsible for. The question I have is, on that side of that pond, that is on the Pebblebrook side, silt is built up, grass is growing, and I can't even see, how are you gonna do any bank restoration in there unless that gets dredged out? What is the plan?
For which side?
The side that
Along
is
Pebblebrook?
along Pebblebrook, yeah. There are three sides that are basically, the homes are on Stone Valley.
Right,
But the one side that's on Pebblebrook, this surface right here,
right.
that strip right there, it's, I don't know where you're gonna put a bank. It's,
Well, right
the lake
now-
is disappearing.
Right now, they're not doing
Right
anything.
now, they have absolutely no plans to do anything along there. Anytime you get golf course side, or if it's, the board voted to do residential properties only. So that's why you see like over on Gateway Greens, when they did the ponds, if it was along the golf course on one side, they didn't
That's
touch it.
understood, yeah. So Stoneybrook has a unique situation where we have HOA property and somewhat gateway property runs along the lakes. There's no houses on Pebblebrook.
Right.
And that doesn't happen too often if you go into the community. That's actually, I like it, but it is unusual. So you're saying every time we have any lake restored in Stoneybrook, the side that is adjacent to the main drag or Pebblebrook is not gonna get touched, is
Yeah,
that what you're
that's
saying?
true, and they have, since this started, they have not done any non-residential portions.
They didn't do those, they didn't do it with ours.
Yeah, like they're gonna do the pond over behind the
That's a
church.
small area of yours. This is probably one of the longest
Yeah.
stretches along that whole pond. Of all three sides, that's the longest surface area. I was just surprised that, my concern is, you do own that pond, and that pond is shrinking.
Right.
Because you know what happens with grass and silt, and the grass retains the silt, and the ponds disappear, and they need sometimes to get dug out again. I'm just curious, they're just gonna let that go like that? That's not full, complete restoration to me, I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, and like I said, it's really the residential side, they haven't addressed any of it, even across the street with the Relevance Church. That pond right there, they're gonna do it, but they're only doing the houses along the back side of it, the commercial and the church property won't be touched. And so when the board moved forward with this, they said residential properties only.
Well, I certainly think Stoneybrook and Gateway is a residential community, but I know the distinction sometimes we're considered commercial because, for whatever reason, is a not-for-profit corporation. But it troubles me, because I really thought that, that lake's gonna shrink, it's gonna start.
It probably is across the board, some of those, they'll either fill in or all the organic matter, and people dumping their grass.
But right now, if you go and look at it, I would say a fifth of the lake is now up above the ground, the water, and sticking out with grass growing out. And I don't know if that's something the board can take a look at going forward, the Board of Supervisors.
Well, they have chatted about that a few times. They did some limited bathymetrics to look at the depths now compared to what they originally were, and what the storage volume was in those lakes. I'm sure that I think the price tag has scared them off a little bit, because you think lake bank restoration is expensive, going to try and do some dredging, because all that material would have to be hauled out.
And there's no, you couldn't do that to build up the banks to that point, huh? Just simply dredge it, pull it in toward the bank,
No,
and make it a
because,
bank, because there is no bank there right now.
Well, there's no bank, and also its soil's not stabilized at all. That's why we bring in fill, because when you try to pull something off the bottom of the lake,
And then
it's
comes
it's
mud
like
and
ball
starts to
bearings,
flow
it just
away.
flows right back in.
You can't know anything so much in the sun.
Yeah, it's,
All right, well,
But,
I have to confess, that's disappointing. I was hoping that lake was gonna get.
I would take some pictures, I can bring it back and show it to them, but right now, like I said, they aren't touching anywhere.
I know.
Along the golf course side, one of the members of the golf course said, well, the golf course pays assessments, on the ERUs, why don't we get the benefit of it?
I think they got a pretty good deal on that lake over there. No money spent on it.
Oh, yeah.
So you still need another,
Roxanne is.
yeah.
And
Shannon's
the
not
big
right
picture
there.
of it,
And she's got her stuff there too.
when we got our latest bids,
I also texted.
I requested the engineer to do a cost comparison of some of the previous lakes, because, they've been trying to save costs.
Sure.
I was a little shocked, because they did the bids for the last two ponds and compared them with the 6 they just got. And the difference was the new bids were lower by 0.52%, or less than $1 a linear foot. And when you're up in that $145, $148 linear foot, what's $1?
It's rounding error.
Yeah, so it's,
I'll have this signed tonight at the clubhouse, I'll leave it there.
okay.
So if you wanted to swing by and grab it.
He's going out of town tomorrow, that's what
Yeah.
he's doing.
Yeah, no problem, we can go get it. And also, the second thing, in February, and maybe even later this month, we're gonna be installing the valves and the different hookups we need on the lift stations over on Pebblebrook.
Okay.
And, end of February, then you'll see them pouring slabs, and the first part of March, those pumps are coming in.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that was on the list of my questions also. I knew we were
Only
getting
because I
close to
saw,
that
I
point.
went to a community and I saw a driveway and theirs, I was like, I wonder what happened to ours.
Yeah, no, it was just a 12-week, out on those pumps.
Oh, okay.
And they,
Gotcha.
after the hurricane, they seemed to start selling an awful lot of those, especially in Collier County. They became very popular.
So you have things to just basically put on the record, I guess, and read to us, is that correct? Estimates?
bids.
The bids.
Oh, no, I did it out there. It doesn't have to be on the record. for
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah, it was just a formal bid opening. They're sealed at a time certain. You just open them up and read them aloud, for the record. And sometime the contractors will show up, other times they won't.
Okay, I thought that was something that had to be done before some.
No, and it was somewhat interesting because the last time we put it out to bid, Matt Tower Environmental was the only bidder on the work, and their prices were good, so we didn't mind. This time we got 4 bids, and it was interesting because a couple of them, even though they're in that $200,000 range, they're within $5,000 of each other, and one of them was at $354. The other 3 were all in that $209, $199, $205, so,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Chris?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Who's taking care of the sidewalks now?
Oh, what she's referring to is that we had, before, while Mike was still here, there was discussion to have the sidewalks cleaned again, so they'd be clean and have clean surfaces through the wintertime and the dry season.
Right.
Because, and then push the next cleaning back to after the trees drop all their debris, because that, we clean them and then it drops the debris, and we're back to where we started with sometimes in the sidewalk.
And the sidewalks belong to,
Well, we do it through here,
right?
and it is budgeted in our 004 budget. So I don't know who's picking up some of that work, who would oversee that.
I'm gonna probably have Billy do that, but basically it's just getting a bid from a couple companies unless you.
Yeah,
wanna use the
I
same
think we
one.
actually had the bid from, and we had accepted it, and he was gonna set it up to get it done.
It was, we were just
Sleeper
waiting
man.
for a timeline.
Yeah.
We had already approved the bid and everything.
Yeah,
When was that?
last fall.
Well, I'll look into it.
Yeah,
We'll
check
just
it out, yeah.
Issue a purchase order and get it started.
Because the idea was, as soon as we get the dry season, let's get it done, clean it up, it'll be clean for the dry season at least, and,
And I had a conversation, we have a work order out, and it was interesting, a lady over there, and she was telling me how her sidewalk was raised in front of her house, and it was a real tripping hazard and a liability.
what are we talking about?
I just to look at the address, in Stoneybrook, and I told her, I said, well, does that have anything to do with your trees? Oh, no, it's not my trees.
Of course
I said-
it is.
I said, well, the reason I'm asking you that is I'm looking at the aerial right now, and it shows that tree in your front yard, and I can see the root going over the sidewalk. So what you're telling me is, your tree came into our right of way, damaged our property, you want us to pay to fix it?
Shut her up quick.
No, and it actually kind of turned into an interesting issue because, she says, well, it's a liability, and I said, well, I'm glad you mentioned that because you'll be enjoined in the suit too.
Mhm.
But I said, so if I go out and I cut it down, and I cut the roots back so they don't come back, and your tree dies, do you want me to replace your tree? And it got kind of interesting because over in Gateway Greens and several other areas, we have these people with these massive oak trees and they basically surrounded the meter box and they're crushing them. And they're like, well, we want a new meter box. And I'm like, we'll see. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, your tree that belongs to you has grown into the right of way in our easement, damaging our property, but you want me to pay to fix it?
A valid point.
Well, but it was interesting because I asked Tony about it, and he wrote a little 4-page, memo about that, basically, even though it's the person's thing damaging your property, you have a right to cut it on your property line.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
But the way we looked at it, though, is we're probably gonna come up with a charge in our rates and fees to replace meter boxes and that, so if someone says, well, the tree, and I want a new meter box, okay, $650 for a new tap and a box.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we get in there and the people are like, well, just take our tree out. I'm like,
I hear you. Well,
But the sidewalk thing, we're.
I'm on the same page you are, and it is what it is, you know. I don't think people realize that those trees are a potential threat. And trust me, there's been quite a few pipes that have been squeezed by roots. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that the villas pulled all their trees down, but one or two.
We took all the oak trees out, and one lady didn't want hers out, and hers was the one we had last year that took out the irrigation and her lines going in.
Yeah.
And she still wants the tree. She had to pay to have it all that fixed. That was the only tree left, and that was the
So,
one.
and I understand it's not your responsibility, but
Well, it's interesting, it's just something to think about and how it goes on, or it's like you say, you have these people and all their trees are breaking all these sidewalks up everywhere, and it's like, well, shouldn't you people trim your tree roots?
yeah, and are you not aware of that? Yeah, I agree, I agree.
I
Can I ask
had
a
a
question? Will that be in our
situation with my
minutes?
sidewalk where it was rising, and it was the palm tree that was doing it.
Right.
And I had somebody come out, and I was afraid Al was gonna trip, or I trip, because it was on the sidewalk from the
You're talking
Lanai,
on the asphalt side.
on my sidewalk
By her house.
by the house, from the Lanai. And I had two squares ground down
To level it out.
to level it out.
That's a possibility. But still, in that case, the root should be cut.
Hey, there's a
And
commercial
some-
on TV, N Squared, they lift up the,
I actually know somebody who works for them, a friend of mine works for
well,
them.
there you go, ask them.
But you see it more and more.
Yeah.
So would it be in our minutes, for the quote that we had approved of, to know the company and all that? Who can find that information?
It would be Sweeperman, because that's the only company we've ever dealt with.
No, she's talking about, are you talking about cleaning the sidewalks?
Yeah, the pressure washing that we had
Ah.
already approved, and how do we find that approval? What date? did
It
that-
should have been in the minutes.
Minutes?
It should have been in the minutes, yeah. Because we definitely did approve it. And I'll confess that not everything makes it into the minutes in the system that we're doing right now.
Right.
But we need to find it, because we're ready to move on to do this.
And I'm sure Superman and Colin will say, oh, that quote for Stoneybrook, here, send it over to me again.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do first, it might
Yeah.
be easier.
Okay, all right.
I agree.
We haven't
Go ahead.
gotten the minutes for the last two meetings either.
Well, I have to ask them where they are with that, they're.
Yeah,
they're a few
because
weeks behind.
I always present them at our board meeting, for the record, and I haven't had anything to present, yeah.
We'll ask them and see where they
So
are.
this will be the third meeting we need minutes for.
Well, yeah.
Because we can't approve the meetings from December 12th today. To be noted.
Yeah, that'd be good, so if we could let our buddies over there know, that would be. I gotta believe a Pelican would let them know right away that they can get minutes and there'd be fireworks going on.
Yeah, we'll have to see where they're at with theirs.
Yeah.
I don't really know, usually Diane's watching some of that stuff.
Yeah,
They're
and
gonna
then
take
she's not
care of
around, I
it.
understand. Or I'd email her and say, I still don't have them, she'd get them,
Right.
All right,
I had
anybody-
an interesting comment about that too, it was like, well, Diane got on and shows you, the value you really need to cross-train your employees, and it's like, that's great, because we have cross-trained a lot of them, but the person I pull out to do her job, who's gonna do their job?
Exactly.
You know, we're running with 6 people in here, it's like.
Temporary,
it's not a
well,
lot
you
of-
get temporary situation, and you can carry, but this has been an extended period now.
And you bring a temp in, it'd take you a month or two to train them,
Exactly.
so.
It's dropped to something.
But we do have, we did do some hiring recently to replace Mike Tisch in Public Works. I took a little different bent and I hired Billy Shaw from Bentley Electric.
Hmm.
He's a master electrician, has worked in Gateway for like 15 years and works for Bentley. And I said, well, instead of hiring somebody that sees a problem, gets a quote, issues a purchase order and make sure it gets paid, I want to hire someone that can do the work.
Yeah.
Whether it's street lights,
Hey, he's willing to do that.
yeah, all that, like change things, and plus, even like today, the bathroom fixtures were out in the south end of the soccer field, and they're just old sodium vapor lamps, and we looked at it and said, well, we can replace them with LEDs and get rid of the ballasts. And instead of calling someone to do it, he went and got the parts, and an hour later,
Because
all done.
the new equipment now is rather easy, very user-friendly to install it without doing much,
yeah, so, it's basically just getting things done.
Gotcha.
And,
That's
we
good.
hired another utility person and also someone to work in wetlands, and lakes. So, but they're not new positions, we're just replacing ones.
Gotcha. Anybody have anything else for Chris?
I was just curious, on communicating when we need the copies of the notes, who is our go-to person when Diane is not here on that? Who do
Probably
we
Mike.
send a
Yeah,
request to?
probably Mike, because he works the closest with them from.
You know, that's the Mike that sent you the notification about the meeting and the agenda.
Because the other Mike
So
that
you
was
had
here wasn't.
The different Mike, yeah.
So
And-
Mike's last name is?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But you get, look at
I
your
get 'em
email. You
confused,
got the
okay.
email address and
Got
everything,
it.
they just reply to that. Okay, well, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep, take care. That's really all we have on the agenda. Like I said, we'll get to the trees there. Anybody in the audience, Kathy, before you walk out, anything? 'Cause we're
No,
gonna-
I just came for the mainscape and the.
Okay, thank you. Warren, you got something for us?
Already addressed, thank you.
Okay. Anybody here?
Warren, there's an open seat, would you like to join us?
Hey, how would you like to be on this committee?
Do I have to sit next to you?
I'll
We
make
can
a
flip
cap over
seats.
here.
That's a good suggestion, I like that suggestion.
What do you
I'm gonna
think?
be here, so if that's be all right with me, it won't be a problem.
All right, everybody.
I make a motion to accept Warren.
Absolutely.
Is that quick?
As a new Gateway Services Advisory Committee.
All right, and who seconded it?
Stoneybrook.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Okay, and normally in the past, it was the president that would usually make the proposal, so he is the president, so it kind of
Yeah.
works. And in addition to that, we will need a brief one-page, hey, this is who I am and what I've done in the past kind of thing.
And
I
maybe
wouldn't
a
even,
bio.
I wouldn't even make it an actual resume, just, you know, a bio, yeah, exactly.
And we need verification from the supervisors.
Well, they have to approve it.
They have to prove it, because you're not a member of a Stoneybrook committee, you're actually a member of a Gateway committee here, and we're subject to sunshine law and all that sort of thing. But that's, I think, boy, that was a moment of brilliance, that was a moment of brilliance I had there.
I've worked with Sunshine Law for 40 years.
I'm the one that
Well,
said.
You were, you
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
No, they're good, it was, excellent idea.
You're right, you're right.
Excellent.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
we'll do that, if you can get that to us, so we'll get it into Gateway, all right?
Email it to you.
Yeah, email it to me, be fine, and I'll forward it. All right, so, if nobody else has anything, we're out of here, you guys can
Kathy
take your
just missed it.
appointments. We got a new advisory committee member,
Warren.
Warren.
Oh, okay.
It's gotta be approved, but
He's
he's
gotta
he's
get approved,
voted
but
on
he's
it
gonna get
already.
approved, yeah. All right, anybody got anything? I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done. All right, thank you, everybody.